Hello, everyone. Long time no see. It has been a couple weeks, but we are back and more excited than ever to cover Surviving Bloomington Season 6, Order versus Chaos. Today, we will be talking about Chapter 10. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Steven. Hi, Steven. How have you been for the past couple weeks?
I'm doing well. School's almost out. I just have to write 2 finals, grade 3 sets of papers, and then sweet freedom of summer and more Survivor awaits. And I'm excited for that. But you and I aren't alone here today. We have a guest joining us. Now, if she doesn't know your name, that's okay. That means she's not voting you out. Joining us is Makenzi Berg. Makenzi, how are you doing?
Good. Hi, Steven. How are you? Steven, it's so good to see you. I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to be able to talk about the experience and some of the things that weren't shown, not just in this episode, but throughout the season, help fill in gaps a little bit.
Yeah, because as mentioned in this episode, you and I did not spend any time together until the merge. So I'm interested to hear about your journey and some of the information that we weren't privy to. I know week by week I've been able to share a lot of what was happening from my perspective, but you have kind of the other side of that. So I'm excited to hear about that. What made you apply to Bloomington or look into Bloomington?
Oh, just a post. I didn't even apply. Casey made a post saying he was looking for a female, and honestly, at the time, I was kind of arguing with Connor. So I was like, whatever, I'm gonna leave. And then I applied for the game, and Casey was like, cool, you're in. And then we made up like an hour later, and I had said, cool, but next weekend I will be going to play a game.
Because my introduction to you is like, you join the cast because the cast is live, and so we see this person up here, and we can see your fundraising total, and yours was just like, woo! I was like, oh wow, I think I know who's gonna be the fundraising winner for our season.
Yeah, social media helps. Having a platform already.
Yeah. For sure, 100%. So there's something we need to talk about. So me, you, and Daddy Matt were picked up from the airport together, and the night before the game, me and you were sequestered together in a house, and we both slept on opposite ends of Casey's couch. And I just want to know what your thoughts were of me on that night, because I had thoughts about you that night.
I thought you were smart, and I didn't trust you right away. I was like, he's too smart. He's like me. He's gonna be friends with everyone, but he's gonna have his own plans going on behind the scenes. And first gut read, I didn't trust you, but I did think you were smart. That's why.
I'll take smart and untrustworthy.
Yeah.
No, I was like, this girl is so cool. I can't wait for us to be on a tribe together. We're going to run this tribe. I had the complete opposite reaction of you. So hearing about that after the game, I was like, that's so funny.
Yeah, totally wrong read. I mean, I had a lot of them during the game, but that one most especially.
Is there anything you want to talk about the kind of the first stage of the game of the pre-merge, both the original Order tribe as well as your following swap tribes? Is there anything that you feel like you want to get out about that experience?
Not anything super specific. I think the only thing was that, just because it adds context to this episode, that I started distrusting Daddy Matt when I got sorted onto Chaos, because he was right. We were working as a 4. It was Danny, Kim, Matt, and I. But even after that Marshawn vote, it was not all kumbaya. But Matt didn't know this, because Matt had said to Danny that he noticed that Kim and I were getting close. And that immediately set off a red flag in my head, because we're supposed to be working as a 4. Why are you talking about this? And also at that point, I felt a lot of loyalty towards Daddy Matt, and I hadn't made any observations about him to anyone else. So almost at that point, I immediately was untrusting of him. So when we did end up merging, I tried to still talk to him, which is impossible. Drew, like getting any real information. I love Matt. I loved having personal conversations with him, but as far as like game stuff went, I wanted to rip my hair out. I was like, okay, yeah. I'm just not gonna get anything.
And I think so. We see that in this episode. Literally, you and I have a conversation. And you're like, yeah, I talked to him, and I was just like, we're not working together. Let's just
Honestly, I thought about that
Why?
after the vote. Was like, maybe that was a bad move, but the conversation almost directly before that, someone had come up to me and told me that Matt was pitching me. He was making a really good case as to why everyone should vote me. They gave me examples about the Jamie thing, that I haven't been voted yet, and that I have a strong social game. So Matt comes up almost 2 minutes later and says, "Hey, what are we thinking?" And I almost just bursted out laughing. I was like, I can't work with you. That's pretty much how that went down.
Matt's so funny. I love Matt. There was a couple of episodes before this one. There was some footage that was unseen. I think I talked about this when the episode aired. It might have been the merge episode where me and Makenzi are having a conversation. Matt comes up on like the other side of Makenzi, so Makenzi's in between us. I asked Matt if he's heard any names. He's like, "Yeah, I've heard names," and he like whatever the names were, he says them. So me and Makenzi are like, "Oh, who'd you hear that from?" And he's like, "I can't say." And I just like went off on him, and like Matt and I start like barking at each other like over top of Makenzi. And I like look at her at one point. I'm like, "You can walk away if you want to. You don't have to stay here while I'm yelling at him." It was what a wild man. I love Matt.
I think at some point in the episode, you kind of mentioned that Kim was, or at least maybe Matt mentioned that Kim was this linchpin to this like alliance. Now with Kim and Danny out, it's just you and Matt again, and you're just like, sorry, ship sailed.
Yeah.
And so you survived the
Yeah. Yeah. I probably should. I don't know. Sorry.
So
is there a lag?
There is. I think there is a lag that's going on.
Okay.
I think it's. I'd like to say it's on your side, but it could be on mine. Drew.
It's Makenzi's side.
Okay.
Okay. Let's talk about pre-swap stuff. Let's kind of go through Makenzi's game a little bit in order. So you mentioned obviously that you started trusting Daddy Matt at the original swap that you went through. What were those first three votes like for you in terms of the Nina, Riley, Alex stuff?
First 3 votes I was fine with. I didn't make any strong connections with any of them. I mean, maybe the one with Nina could have been strong if we let it bloom. But at that point, I just felt like I had really good conversations with Jamie, Matt, well, both Matts, John. So at that point, I was fine with those. I think I probably was responsible for the Nina one.
Yeah, the Nina one was wild watching, and it seemed to me like for you, based on the edit we were shown, the hardest one for you was the Alex one, because it seemed like you and John were kind of like, should we keep Alex because she's forced to work with us, or do we go a different direction?
Yeah, it was just another gut thing, just trying to have a conversation with Alex. I wasn't sure if we were like not vibing, but just if I could fully trust her, especially after the first 2 votes, because I was in communications with her a little bit, but not as much as I was with the other people that I mentioned.
That makes sense.
Because my impression was that you and Alex were closer. That I guess I was in the impression of the time that you had the power to switch things to save Alex.
Yeah, I probably did. Yeah, Makenzi. And here backstage we have Alex. Are you guys ready to fight? No, but I mean, unfortunately, the first couple of votes in these sorts of games tend to be, I think Melanie says this in one of the episodes, like, it's kind of arbitrary. It's just like, who are you talking to and who are you not talking to? Who can you almost stumble into conversations with? So it happens.
Yeah, it was hard because I had such an emotional connection with Jamie. I mean, when Jamie shared their story, I shared a cry with them, and then they immediately told me I was their bounty. So it was okay, it's not going to be Jamie. And I mean, I didn't have that relationship with every person on the tribe, but it was like these little emotional moments that made me feel bonded to everyone that I just didn't have with those three. Save for Nina. We did pee in the woods together. So there was a little bit of specialness there, but yeah.
So we get to this tribe swap. What were your initial impressions of your tribe at the first tribe swap? So it was you, Daddy Matt, Marshawn, Kim, and Danny.
First impression, I was not happy with Marshawn. Marshawn came off as very gloaty during the competitions. And then when I got on the mat, he wasn't even hiding it. He literally was like, this is bullshit. Like, I liked my tribe. And I was like, great. I feel so welcome. So immediately I had a conversation with Kim before the game started. She seemed really sweet. It was super brief. Same thing with Danny. And then I was happy to be with Matt. Just, I trusted him at the time. So
Alliance.
Pretty much when I started walking away from the mat, almost immediately after Marshawn had said that, I had kind of looked at the other two and I knew Kim was so sweet. So I was kind of looking at her to be like, am I welcome here? But also, hey, one of your tribe members is already making me feel shitty. Should we do something about that? And they already had some pre-existing drama that was stirred up, so it just worked out.
It was so funny to me that the three central people in our original tribe drama ended up together. Because, like, if you watch the episodes, like, Brady, me, Seth, Tyler, Melanie, we're, like, absolutely not involved. Like, it's hands off. So I thought that was so funny. I'm feeling kind of chaotic and messy today. So Stephen and Makenzi, I actually have a question for both of you. If your original tribe had to vote somebody else out, what would have happened in your opinions?
Who was left?
So original order, it would have been you, John, Stephen, Little Matt, Jamie, and Daddy Matt.
So for me, definitely not Jamie, definitely not John. I was feeling Little Matt more than I was Big Matt. Steven, we would have had to have a conversation that, you know, it would have, for me, would have either been you or Daddy Matt, but I think I would have trusted you more than Daddy Matt just because of your general disposition. But I don't know, because Matt is also very charming.
I honestly probably am pushing, I think, as I look back at it more, the two people I would have been, so I was close to Little Matt, I was close to Jamie. You still have the advantage, so I'm not looking to go for you, and I'm just trying to work with you. So I think John is someone I'm putting a lot of work in, so it kind of leads to Big Matt at that point for me as well. Unless I feel like I need the gun for John for some reason. So probably Big Matt.
You heard it here first, Daddy Matt. They don't like you.
No, we love
it. Just at that point, like I know we had talked. We kind of talked about this kind of loose alliance, but like I was just like, is there more to it? And like again, I never sat down with you, Makenzi, and said like, hey, are we a three? Are we gonna make this a thing? And
I would have potentially worked with that. It was so early on, I think, when Matt had said the Texas 3 thing, again, so early that I didn't even remember.
This is all one day. This is all within like 12 hours. This is the problem of losing repeatedly. There's barely time to kind of go and talk and figure out stuff.
Yeah.
So, sorry, jumping back to where we were, I just thought of that because I like being messy. So, jumping back, we swap. You guys vote out Marshawn. We go into the tug of war challenge, and Yellow Tribe is kind of like, hey, Red, take this. You use your challenge advantage. Were there any thoughts before that point about using the challenge advantage? Obviously, I guess you only would have had 2 opportunities because you could not use it at the first challenge, and the first challenge of the swap was individual. So I guess what was kind of your thought process with that?
Oh, that we were probably appeared to be the physically weakest and that we need to use it here or we're absolutely going to lose. I mean, even with the advantage, we would have lost. I'm pretty sure if it wasn't given to us.
I wonder if you and Kim both had your advantages at that point, what that would have looked like.
Probably 2 mat flips.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. Either way, not a fun challenge. So we get to that challenge. You guys are safe. Was there anything that sort of developed back at camp, maybe that wasn't shown during that round while the other 2 tribes were going to tribal? Or what was your thought of what would have happened if you guys would have had to go to tribal there?
And it was just the 4 of us?
Yeah.
At that point, I probably flip on Matt because I don't think this was shown, or I don't know if I had a confessional about it, but I had woken up at some point and I saw Matt in the woods through the mesh of the tent, like looking for idols. And then that coupled with the Danny conversation, if the chaos numbers at that point wanted to take out Matt, I would have been okay with it.
Matt, she's really coming for you today.
Sorry.
So
you said my name first.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. I feel like when we asked Danny, when Danny was on here and we talked to them, it was kind of like, I have no idea what would have happened. It could have been any of the 4 of us. Probably not Kim, though.
Not Kim. I was really... at that point, I felt closest to Kim, but I was really feeling Danny at that point. So I would have went that way.
Okay. So we get through these other 2 votes. We move forward to a second swap. We end up having the men versus the girls and Danny. And what happened that evening on your tribe? What was kind of your plan, your thought process? How were you feeling about that group? What was going on?
That was such a stressful vote because it's such a small tribe. There's nowhere to hide. I got so paranoid that I was having conversations that were being immediately told. I don't think that was the case, but that's what was going on in my mind. And it was driving me nuts because I was, at that point, I was telling Brady that I was down to go Rachel, but I was telling Rachel that I was down to go Brady. I think when it came down to it, I would have went Brady because I was, I saw her as a threat. I thought she was a strong player. She was talking about all the keys. I went through her bag. I found, I think 5 key bags. So I assumed that she did have them on her. But then I think it just stressed Kim out way too much. And she has such a big heart and she wanted to make room for more players that she felt like wanted it more or deserved to be seen. So when she decided to do that, I was so happy for her that she made that choice for herself. But me personally, not good for my game. I had just made a really great ally that I trusted 100%. I mean, I probably wouldn't have told Kim everything just because she does struggle with keeping secrets or, doing something that she would perceive as mean. But I lost a good one that day.
Yeah, I think every person who had been on a team with Kim was like, oh, Kim's my bestie. That's my number one. So when Kim got voted out, I was like, oof, that hurts my game. And clearly we were on opposite sides at that point. So speaking of Kim, by the way, Kim has publicly shared a GoFundMe that she's raising for treatment for herself. So you should check out Kim's profiles if you would like to donate to that. She's a great person who deserves great things and lots of love and support.
Absolutely.
So we get through that vote. We get to the merge. We get the Redemption Island challenge. We get the bribes to vote somebody onto the jury. Makenzi, who did you want to come back into the game from Redemption Island?
Jamie.
I'm so
you got it.
Yeah.
I always wanted Jamie.
Could not relate less.
Things worked out so perfectly for me in that little gap. Kim going on to jury and Jamie rejoining the game. I was like, come on.
What was your thought process with getting the bribes? Who bribed you? I don't remember what happened with you there.
Jamie, Nina, and was there one more bribe?
The Jamie. So, but you probably got Nina, maybe got Melanie, Matt. No.
I got Nina and Melanie.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Maybe
But what was your kind of thought process through that vote?
my thought process was that I'm voting Jamie. No, wait, no. Didn't we get bribed to vote on the jury?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was always gonna vote Kim. So, I mean, Kim bribed me, but I didn't need it. I guess the obviously the only other way I would have considered something else is if someone had offered me more keys, but and I still thought that they would have voted for me. But I just felt like Kim deserved it. Sometimes I play way too emotionally, and there's not really a whole lot of thought besides this person deserves this thing, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I love that. Kim gets brought onto jury. Jamie returns to the game and joins us at camp. We get into the first challenge, which was the hold the crate challenge. And we get back to camp and it starts downpouring. What was that like for you? Talk to us through that era.
Hell. It was like hell. I hate being cold. I guess opposite of that then. But I can't deal with being wet. Also, I left all my stuff in just the perfect worst corner of the tent, so it all got soaked. I had a big cry about that, and then Daddy Matt, it just happened at the perfect time that I think he thought I was crying because I was going to vote him out. So I just leaned into that. But I was actually just devastated that my stuff was wet.
Daddy Matt, probably don't watch this any further because you keep getting dragged. I'm so sorry.
Makenzi, it makes you feel better. In Dante's Inferno, the seventh layer of hell is frozen, so it is.
Yeah,
cold.
that's where I was then.
Did you have? I need to get organized. Okay, so that vote ends up being for Little Matt. In the lead up to that vote, when we're all under the tarp, what was your view on like how everything was laid out? What was your intention for setting up a majority? Where were you at there? Because obviously at that point you had not played with me, Brady, or Tyler. I think we're the only three.
No,
that you had not
just
been
you
on.
and Tyler.
Oh yeah, me and Tyler. Just me and Tyler. Yeah. So what was your perception of the tribe? What was your plan? That sort of thing.
My majority that I thought I would have really wanted to stay with at that point was you, Drew, John, Rachel. I wanted Little Matt to stay, but I didn't think he was integral to my game. And then I'm trying to think at that point if I was thinking about working with Daddy Matt still. Because I flip-flopped on him a couple of times.
Who was your ideal merge boot?
That's a good question.
I would either Drew or Brady.
Yeah, because I didn't start working with Makenzi and John until later in that round. If you had asked me that question, my answer would have been John, because John and I didn't start working together until Daddy Matt threw out mine and John's names, and that like forced us to work together. I think something else that wasn't shown, I think it was this round, it might have been the next round, is that I told Makenzi, I pulled her aside and was like, hey, I'm just letting you know I have your bounty. I have no intention of cashing in on it. And then did you tell me that you had me? I don't remember.
No.
Makenzi does not share her bounties with people.
No, I still didn't trust you. Yeah, I mean, I know you're saying I was dragging Daddy Matt, but I honestly was on a campaign to get you out almost as soon as we hit merge.
Yeah, I did not know that. So great gameplay, because I was like, this girl is my new number one. I was like, people are seeing me and Brady as this huge duo. Like, I'll show them. I'll switch duos. Makenzi, let's go. Makenzi's my number one. Woo, Drew and Makenzi. And then you're like, absolutely not.
Well, it's so funny because Tyler's reasoning in this episode was, I got to break up Drew and Makenzi. And in my head, I'm like, we are broken up. I'll vote Drew as soon as we can.
So, after Little Matt goes out, who is the most important? Like, if you can rank, who's the most important people for your game, like going into that final 9 votes?
Let me answer for her. Drew and Daddy Matt in last. No, I'm just kidding.
No, because every time you won immunity, you were my ally again. it was right back in that number.
So if you're saying as soon as Drew loses, you're just targeting him again.
I never targeted him the first time. I didn't want to target him until we had the numbers. And when we were under the tent, I didn't feel confident enough to throw that out because we're in such a small area that I didn't feel good about it. There was a point where someone was on this side of my ear whispering to me about voting Brady out, and she's literally having a conversation with me while they're whispering that.
That was such a crazy round. That's a Big Brother twist or something. Everyone's confined to a room for a round or something. I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
So, because looking at the final 9, it's John, your number 1, Jamie's number 2, Rachel.
Because that's the round that
Tyler.
Jamie started getting a little bit, let me say, weary of Makenzi, because I think Jamie has a confessional that round saying, I want to work with John and Makenzi, but I can tell they've picked other number 1s now, and that I'm not their top priority. They're still working with me, but I'm not their top priority.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for me because even as you were ranking it, I had to think in my head because obviously I guess you can't have 2 number 1s, but at that point, between John and Jamie for me was very hard. And but I could feel Jamie pulling back, and that was the only reason why I leaned into John being my number 1. So same thing with Danny, because I really still wanted to work with Danny, but to me, Jamie and Danny were kind of a pair. So I thought, okay, John and I, Jamie and Danny, and then we'll have Rachel. And then if Drew has immunity, Drew's in on this. So I would have been fine working with that 4. That
We'll never know.
Wow. I have so many more questions.
Well, because I think because in every episode you're like, I could be going out today. I need to win immunity, and we kind of hear from Brady saying, if Drew didn't win immunity, I'll target Drew. And I was like, okay, I feel a little less boy who cries wolf, a little more like, oh, he is being actively.
Yeah. So I asked Brady about that, and the reason that Brady said that in this episode is because Brady found out finally, since the merge, I have been passively okay with her going. Pre-merge, I was very much actively fighting against Brady going, but then merge hits. Every time I hear Brady's name, I'm saying, that's fine with me. We can do Brady. We can do Brady. We can do Brady. Would I have ever actively voted against Brady? Absolutely not. But was I okay with her going and other people voting for her? Yes. I will say, I think that was a bad move for me. I should have been loyal to Brady. Brady's the only person other than Jamie in the game that I was disloyal to, and I think that was a mistake. But that is why Brady says it, because Brady finds out that I'm passively saying I'm okay if Brady goes. Hi, Makenzi. Welcome back.
Sorry.
We were approaching fight night. Talk to us about fight night.
Oh, I was so out of it for fight night, which is crazy because my name's just being thrown around and I honestly was chilling. I don't know why I felt so comfortable, but I was like, it's not really me. I know I'm not going home, but yeah, that was stressful because like I said, my plan when we hit merge and Jamie came back in was to work with Danny and Jamie. So I knew that either Danny or Jamie lied to me. I just didn't know who it was, but I figured it doesn't matter because they probably know between themselves who's not telling me the truth, and it was making me paranoid. So I was like, okay, they can go, I guess.
Lied to you about what?
Who they voted for the round before, because I believe there was a vote or 2 that were unaccounted for.
Yeah, so the unaccounted for votes, so the non-Daddy Matt votes, there was 1 on Rachel, 1 on Danny, and 1 on Brady. John voted for Brady, did not tell anyone. I voted for Danny, only told people that I really trusted. Jamie voted Rachel, only told John.
Yeah.
So
Which
it's a
is
lot.
crazy because I didn't know when Jamie and John got so close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew that one of them lied, but I didn't know which one. So
yeah. Another thing that stuck out to me about that evening, I edited together today a reel that I posted on Instagram of that night. And my favorite moment of the night, my favorite new moment that I just noticed, Tyler and I start asking Casey if we can do a live tribal. And Casey's like, yeah. And then the next thing you hear is you going, as we all stand up.
I know. I was so over it.
I mean, so was Jamie and Danny going out back to back ideal for you, or or in your perfect world, Brady goes first and then Danny goes second?
Ideally, Matt never had 6 keys. I told people too. I don't know. I think it was mentioned in this episode again. Tyler had said, you know, Makenzi had told us he's being too calm. He's probably got a trick up his sleeve. And I said, yeah, like I knew that. So we should plan who we actually wanted our first vote, our contingency to be. But I don't know why nobody believed me. They were just like, oh no, that's just how he acts. No,
Do you
it's
wish
not. That's not
do you
how
wish
anyone.
you threw your vote?
Who? No. No, because I think that we had talked it through to where what was the vote? It wasn't just one on.
There was because it's like what one Rachel, one Brady, or like 2-2. Drew, you're muted.
It was 6 to 1 to 1 to 1. So 6 on Daddy Matt that were canceled, 1 Rachel, 1 Brady, 1 Danny.
No, at this point it was really hard for me to pick what path I wanted to go down. So I kind of just wanted to see how things played out.
Mm.
I can't say whether it would have been good for my game or not for Danny and Jamie to stay in because I had already lost trust with them. So it would have had to be rebuilt. I would be paranoid about it. I would think that I was going to get left out again. So I don't. No.
So we get to the revote. You have to choose between Danny, Rachel, and Brady. What made you vote for Danny other than you sitting in front of me and me whispering in your ear the whole time to vote
Danny? So it would have been Danny or Brady, but I didn't want to vote for Brady unless Brady was going out because I didn't want to burn her as an ally. So to me it came down I didn't want to get rid of Rachel at that point.
Well, had you voted Brady, Brady would have gone.
But I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's fair. Why would you think Tyler would vote Brady?
Yeah, he didn't tell me that, so I didn't know. And I believe Tyler told me to vote Danny or that it was going that way. Either him or John had said that. So at that point, it just came down to I don't necessarily 100% trust Brady, but I at least felt like she hadn't lied to me yet at that point. But I had known that Danny lied to me. So
okay. So we get to the second vote, and everybody gets up for a live tribal. Brady and Tyler start fighting. At some point, the conversation comes up of Brady telling you, hey, I think we should expose Tyler because Tyler's the one that threw out Makenzi's name. It wasn't Drew. And then that all starts popping off as well. And all of a sudden, you are now the focus of one of the arguments. Whereas up to that point, everybody who was arguing, you're not in it. You're not involved in any capacity. What were your thoughts at that interaction?
I wish they were more. I was so tired that I think Tyler had told me before Brady told me that or maybe he told me after, but that it was a decoy, that he didn't mean it, and that like the plan is still the same. And at that point, I trusted Tyler, so I was like, okay.
Did you have any thoughts in the real time about Tyler versus Brady? Or even watching it back?
That how I should have acted differently,
Just
or
how you felt, your thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like I would have told myself, hey, even if someone throws you out as the decoy, they didn't tell you, so this should be a red flag.
Interesting. So let's get into this episode. We start off with the challenge. It is a try and remember details from this story and then run to all these different stations to answer questions about the story challenge. You tell us in a confessional, you're like, I'm so mad. Like, my memory is good. I can run. I just misread the same question wrong twice, which made me had to do like 2 extra laps, basically. I end up winning immunity somehow. I am not a runner. I
He
cannot
says.
do what?
So he says.
No, I'm literally Steven, you like after this challenge, I had to pause production to find someone with an inhaler, and I had to use Kim's inhaler because I thought I was gonna die. Yeah, thoughts on that challenge? Any other challenges stick out to you? We haven't really talked about challenges up to this point.
No, I mean, I have already expressed myself about that challenge. It was that the just missing the knot. But I don't know. Nothing was as physically exhausting as the tug of war one, but I'm probably biased because I won at least like the team portion, but I liked the one where you held the balls on the plate. And I wish that dude, I'm such a rule person that as soon as Rachel had said something about checking Melanie, I literally twisted my neck to look. Because at that point I felt safe enough, but I wanted to see how far I could go. I moved my neck to look and then my balls fall. And I was like, okay, you deserve that.
Yeah,
Matt also wants to commend your slingshot abilities.
Not only is Makenzi a pro at popping her own balloons, but also everyone else she's competing against.
That was so funny.
At least you're accurate within like a horizontal line.
Yeah, I can hit the line, just not exactly where it needs to be. I was like, if I pop enough of these in the general area of my balloons, I'm gonna win.
So we don't get to see, we hear about this in the episode, but we don't see it. But Matt elects not to join everyone at the old cast camp. He stays at the merge camp, half due to the fact he's ingested spoiled ranch, half because he wants to idle hunt and look for advantages, etc. How much are you aware, or is this on your radar when going into this next round?
100% we knew that he was going to look for idols. I definitely did think that he was sick, and I did feel bad. But who stays? You know what I mean? I was like, I'm too tired to look. It's okay if he wants to.
When did you learn that it was ranch dressing that caused it?
He told us.
Yeah, he told us.
He was like, I'm pretty sure I ate some bad ranch. So we get back to camp. Everybody basically agrees, like, we're too tired. We're not fighting. Like, we're all just going to not talk about the game right now until the morning. And we had leftover food from the merge. And we were like, oh, let's make some bacon grilled cheeses. But then the discussion came up that, like, oh, this bacon has been sitting out all day. So, like, even though it's been raining and colder, it hasn't been, like, refrigerator colder. So we end up not using the bacon, and a couple of us eat grilled cheeses. Rachel brings up, she's like, I'm absolutely not eating grilled cheese. I'm not getting food poisoning from cheese that's been sitting out all day. Matt has the idea, like, oh, food poisoning. That's fun. He intentionally eats this ranch. We hear him while we're, like, cooking the grilled cheeses, like, profusely vomiting.
That's right. We still cook the grilled cheeses.
And we still cooked grilled cheeses.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure we still ate it.
Yeah. So he intentionally eats this ranch, is really sick. We can hear and see that he's sick. John and I venture out, find the other camp, come back. We're like, yeah, it's dry. Let's go. We start packing up to move, I guess. Matt's like, I can't make it. I'm too sick to make it. Like, I'll stay here. Y'all go. We're like, are you sure? We tell production that he's really sick. We go. We tell production multiple other times, like, hey, not only is Matt sick, but he's by himself at this camp. And they're like, okay, we'll keep our eyes on him. And we went to bed.
Wait, I'm sorry, Casey, there's footage of everyone throwing up at once?
Yeah, wait, what? Who?
I don't remember. I did not throw up.
This is the deleted scene of the episode, apparently.
I was dry heaving after the tug of war. Well, not dry heaving, but coughing.
Yeah. I might have been dry heaving after the running. But yeah, that Matt was like, I can't make it to the other camp. I'm staying here. Just tell a bunch of production members.
After the running challenge, I didn't hear anyone throwing up.
That would be me dry heaving.
Well, we get this scene of just like everyone kind of like on the table, like gasping for breath afterwards, and I was like,
yeah, and that's why I said, I'm sorry, guys, I need a minute, because I could not even like stand up at that point to like get the immunity necklace. So yeah, that's what happens that night. I feel like we slept pretty well that night, to be honest. Production had to wake us up in the morning. Casey like comes into camp and is like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, sleeping. And he's like, you have a challenge in 10 minutes, by the way. We're like,
great.
Sounds good. Is Matt alive?
I'm coming.
Yeah. We do the challenge. We get back to camp, and all of a sudden, Makenzi's name is out there for the first time, basically, this game. Makenzi, what was that round like for you?
Embarrassing.
What was the memory from that round?
Embarrassing, dude. The fact that there's a best quote of the episode, but we should do worst quote. Definitely me saying, "That's okay. I don't really feel like I need immunity this round." It's always the round you say some dumb shit like that you needed it.
Wait, Casey, I don't know what you're talking about. Please.
Oh, Tyler's dream. Wait, the one that he got up and just he didn't get up. Do you remember him yelling?
Yes. Okay, I do remember this now. We're all like, so Tyler falls asleep in like 10 seconds. He did every single night we were there, and he snores. So we're all sitting there. Tyler's on one end of the tent. Rachel's on the other. Like me, Makenzi, John, Brady are in the middle. Tyler's snoring, and the rest of us are just like talking and snickering about like how stupid everything that we're doing is, and how like us fighting at tribal was so funny and stupid. And then all of a sudden, Tyler sits up. He's still asleep, and he just yells. And we're like, "Are you okay?" And then he just lays back down and is still snoring.
So I'm pretty sure he yelled, "Hey!" And
yes,
it was mad loud. Then just goes back and lays down, and you go, "Hello."
And then the next morning we asked him about it, and he was like, that didn't happen. And we're like, it literally did.
Casey, do you have footage of this happening?
It's not footage of it happening, but it's probably footage of like Brady talking about it, because Brady was like, are you mentally okay?
Because like I know, so I sleep talk, and that's the kind of sleep talking I do, where like I will respond to things while I'm sleeping. I have no recollection of it when I wake up the next day. Like I had roommates convinced I spoke Italian because I would just speak gibberish to them when they like at 2 a.m. when they woke me up. I would have no recollection. So
the responding is so funny.
I forgot about that completely and entirely. I forgot about that. That's so funny. So we start strategizing at camp after this challenge. My grand idea is that we do a vote split on Daddy Matt, and then we tell Daddy Matt Brady, and a couple other people maybe throw votes on Brady in case Matt has more keys, because I think I was under the working theory at that point that somebody had given Matt more keys. I don't know why I thought that, but that was my working theory. So I thought Matt may have had more keys. So then Brady would go, because in my mind, the core 5 is me, Makenzi, John, Tyler, and Rachel. So I'm like, Daddy, Matt, and Brady are the 2 not in that 5. So one of them needs to go here. Makenzi, thoughts?
I wanted that to happen too. That's basically what I thought was going to happen. And then Rachel did try to tell me that she thought it was me. Oh, people that you're working with. But because we had already discussed me being the fake name, I was just like, no, it's okay. It's just their plan.
If you would have run this round, what would you have wanted to do? Like, if you could be like, hey, this is what we're doing, I'm planning this vote, what was your ideal move that round?
That was my ideal move. Exactly what you pitched. A lot of the times, because I try to play a little bit under the radar. It's so difficult sometimes. But a lot of the plans that went through were exactly what I wanted to happen. I mean, whether I had a hand in manipulating that at all or I just aligned myself with people who wanted similar things. Like the first 3 votes, I was confused. I wasn't sure if I wanted them at the time, but it was the exact order that I wanted things to go in.
Okay.
So I think because what's interesting about this episode, it feels like Tyler, at least it feels like it's mostly Tyler who's spearheading voting out. I guess Matt in a sense, because you and Matt are just like, we're not working with each other. This is happening. So it feels like it's a lot of Tyler. There's some of Matt. And then Rachel and John are brought in with Tyler to join in. And like Rachel, I feel like we heard some good arguments made for her. I don't feel like we get John's perspective. Maybe when
we do get John's perspective, where we get a confessional from John saying, this round I need to get out Brady. And I think that is because John felt like every single other person in the game he had a final 2 with, which I think is true. He had like every single other person felt great about John other than Brady, especially with Brady having John as her bounty.
Well, I guess we don't see how we get from that confessional of John to his his voting confessional,
right?
Where he's saying Makenzi has the best social game, and I'm telling Rachel that she can't sit by Makenzi because they're going to be pitching a similar game, and Makenzi will win out.
Yeah, John has had a pretty quiet post-merge compared to his pre-merge. It seems like he's somehow been able to go under the radar, which is great for him considering how big of a target he was seeming coming into the merge. But yeah, that's what we hear from John. We hear a little bit of pushback from Matt later in the episode where he's like, we need to flip the vote onto Rachel.
That doesn't feel like it goes anywhere, right?
I don't understand his thought process. I know that he was actively trying to, obviously he and Tyler had some like weird thing where like, even though they had just fought, they were trying to work together. And then I think Matt was still trying to work with John pretty closely. So I don't understand the Rachel targeting, but that obviously does not work out.
It could just be some of the early fallout from the misinterpretation that happened with what Matt said to Rachel, leading to Matt saying, I think I need to target Rachel because now she's going to target me, etc. Hard to know.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Brady, and Makenzi are pretty much kept in the dark. And everyone's just reassuring us like, yeah, we're going to do the Matt Brady vote split, or we're just all going to go Matt. Brady is pitching to me that, yeah, I'll just vote Matt. Then on the revote, we just take Rachel out if Matt plays a shot in the dark and it goes off.
Makenzi, in retrospect, I know Rachel was kind of very heavily hinting like, I think some of your allies are working against you. Did you get any sense from John that he had flipped?
No.
She thought it was me.
Yeah, I did. No, I didn't. That's why I didn't say anything when I got voted out, because I didn't know who did it and I didn't want to look stupid. I'm not wishing anyone good luck. Like 30 seconds after they flipped on me. So I just walked away quiet and I was like, I don't know what happened. But I do remember now, and I'll mention this because it just huge error on my part. I was just feeling so good making it to, what was it, final 6?
7.
That I was like, okay, I'm going to be on the jury. I was just having such a good time that I had said out loud, I'm so proud of myself. I was like, I feel like I played a really good game. And I think I said that nobody has written my name down yet in front of Tyler. And that to Tyler just set off a little flag in his head.
Which is hilarious because Tyler also has not had his name written down. Up until this point, you and Tyler are the 3 people who have not received any votes up until this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, it's interesting.
I think Tyler's approach here was interesting, for sure.
How so?
He literally grabs John and Rachel at one point and is like, okay, everybody listen. The final vote, we're voting Makenzi. I'm not hearing any arguments. Whatever else you hear is not true. We're voting Makenzi. Don't change your mind. I'm not changing my mind. This is the final vote. Matt's voting with us. And Rachel's like, can you get the numbers without me? Because I don't want to vote for Makenzi. And Tyler and John are basically like, no, if we don't have you, it'll be a tie, or we'll have to figure out how to get enough keys to get an extra vote. We are voting Makenzi, Rachel, John. We are voting Makenzi. And I'm just like, if I would have done that with y'all would have tried to fight me. But Tyler has this like mystical ability to make people trust him. It's crazy. He's so good at getting people to just like believe him and trust him. And it clearly worked.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt safe with him. I mean, we didn't even have that many conversations, but just the few that we did, I trusted him.
I guess, Makenzi, what's your final three looking at like at this point? Is it with John and Tyler, or is it John and Rachel, or what? How's it composed?
Ideally, John and Rachel. But from what we've talked to Rachel about, I don't know that would have happened either, because if again that I was brought up by Tyler later in the game, I think she does the same thing.
I think something that we haven't really talked about is Tyler and John being brothers. And you were one of the two people in the game other than John and Tyler who knew that. It was you and Danny. Did that impact your gameplay at all?
From Tyler's from what he said, yes. He said when John told him that I knew, Tyler wanted me out. He didn't want that information getting out. He didn't trust me with it. So I didn't ask to know that. John just told me right away. So that's
like round one, right?
Yes, right away.
Because I wonder how much it's like, all right, I trust you. At this point, John's like practically number one. Like, well, I know he and Tyler are close, therefore I guess I'm working with Tyler as well, right? You kind of feel like, an ally of an ally is clearly my ally as well. And sometimes it's just not the case, and you get burned for it.
Yeah, I mean, it also goes to show how much trust I did have in John, because that's absolutely true. I was like, why would Tyler screw me over? We're all working together.
Why would Tyler screw you over after just screwing over his number one ally the round prior?
I really thought it would be a Tyler versus Brady at the final 7, but neither of their names have any serious traction. It's like, yes, there's animosity, but
I think me, Makenzi, and John and Rachel were all on the same page of like, well, and Daddy Matt. Daddy Matt was kind of like, I'll just go with whoever. But I think the rest of us were just like, if they're targeting each other, they're not targeting me.
Yeah, I was always trying to add fuel to any fire that didn't have my name on it.
So, Drew, let's say you are approached the plan about Makenzi. Do you acquiesce and say yes? Do you go to Makenzi and tell her, hey, it's your name? What do you do if like Tyler comes to you with that plan?
If Tyler comes to me one-on-one, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's talk about it with other people, make sure we have the numbers, and then we'll reconvene later with a lockdown thing. I immediately go to Makenzi. I'm like, hey, Tyler's trying to target you. What are we doing?
Yeah, I think that they kept it perfect from the exact two people that at that point would have been honest with me. Also Brady's comment, me being more loyal than Makenzi's allies. If either of you came and told me that, then my whole game switches. I'm with you two now. I mean, maybe not entirely. Like, I still probably would want to work with Rachel, but you would be my new number one, I think.
Yeah, I immediately would have. And that's like the round prior where everything was really messy at camp. And Brady's like, so are we doing Makenzi for the second vote? And I'm like, Makenzi's name is out there? Like, absolutely not. I need to go fix this. And then the drama happened from that with like who actually threw Makenzi's name out, and me being very adamant with trying to clear my name, because I was like, I will not throw Makenzi's name out. So
let's say you both of you know that Makenzi's name is out there and there's alliance targeting her. I mean, who do you bring in to break that? How do you flip it back to 4-3 in your favor?
So it's me, Brady, Makenzi, and I think we have to try to pitch for John or Rachel. Now, obviously, Makenzi has the knowledge that John and Tyler are brothers, so it's like, I don't. My thing would have been I would have tried to go to John to make it the 4-3, but obviously Makenzi knows that that's probably not the best option. So it would have been a discussion between the three of us.
Depends on how much information I get. Like, if the information is just that Tyler's trying to rally my name, I still go to John. But if I know that John, Rachel, and Matt are the 4 that are voting for me, then I don't go for John. Or I at that point would try to flip the vote, probably Tyler, to sever those 2.
Right. And like me, you, Brady would have voted Tyler. The question is, I mean, Matt obviously wouldn't, John wouldn't, Rachel wouldn't. So I think we would have been just screwed either way.
Probably, yeah, because I don't think Matt would have at that point. I probably would have believed Matt would have, but that's before seeing the episode, you know?
Yeah, and I think the reason that Matt wouldn't have is, I mean, I was honest with him both times his name was coming up and telling him that his name was coming up and he should play anything. I told him this round, like, hey, you're getting votes. You should play something if you have something. But there was no world in which Matt was willing to work with me and I was willing to work with him beyond just like basic communication, unfortunately. I just don't think we could have been on the same side.
I mean, maybe we could have also gotten Rachel for Matt instead of Tyler.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, that's what her decision was here. Was I don't know. It was between you and Matt. Maybe if it was between you and Tyler, it would have been a different story.
The other thing, and I feel like this was maybe an emotional mistake on my part, but again, sometimes I can't control it. But this isn't shown, but after Rachel was crying, I walked up to Matt and I told Matt that just outside the game, Rachel's really upset right now. Her feelings are hurt. I don't know if you said this or not, but I do feel like from spending the last few days with you knowing that you hurt someone's feelings like this, like you would probably want to know and fix it.
Yeah.
If I don't tell Matt that and he doesn't apologize, like, and we have that tribal, I asked Rachel, does it go different? And she said possibly, but she doesn't know.
Yeah. My conversation that I have with Rachel is that at that point she was not willing to turn on Tyler, but was indifferent towards Matt. So I think for her, what we ended up seeing was her trying to figure out which one of these 2 is going to be better for me in the long game. And she decides that having Matt in is more beneficial than having you in. Now, if that whole conversation, which we'll talk about in a second, did not happen, then it's possible she goes a different way. But let's talk about that conversation. There is something brought up where there's a conversation between Matt, Brady, and Tyler in which Matt says that they should target Rachel because she's being dragged through the game, and he either does or does not say that she's dead weight. Brady comes and communicates that to me. I communicate it to Rachel. All Rachel gets out of that conversation, because I'm a conversation shortener, is that Matt called Rachel dead weight and wants to vote her out. So Rachel goes to Makenzi on a human level and is like, I'm upset right now. I need support. What was that like, I guess, for you? What was your kind of perception of what was going on there?
I don't know. I'm emotional. So if someone else is upset, I'm usually upset. So I just wanted to make her feel better. I was not like thinking about the game at all at that point. I just felt bad that she felt bad. I guess what was going through my head is everything that I know she's a mom, so her kids are going to be watching it. I'm like, that would hurt me too if my kids hear someone else thinks I'm dead weight. So it just made me cry a lot. And then, yeah, her telling me at that point, like, I think people are throwing out your name. I didn't realize that maybe I evoked something out of her to confess to me. I just was like, oh yeah, girl, I know about it.
Yeah, and then she's like half crying, and she's like, by the way, your name is still coming up. Trying to be like a good person and a good friend to you. Meanwhile, you're like, I don't care, Rachel. I don't need immunity.
You have sleepies in your eye. Get them out.
Yeah. So we get to tribal. Anything relevant that either of you sort of gathered from the question and answer at tribal that round? We kind of went from like an explosive tribal last round to this one being like pretty standard tribal stuff.
I guess.
Yeah.
Wait, Makenzi, at this point, like how how much are you focusing on the jury, right? Because I feel like you look at the jury, you're like, these are all people who like me, I'm good with. Is jury management playing a big part of your game beyond that at this point?
Yeah, I think almost jury management played too much of my game at that point because I was really calculating who I would lose and who I would gain. And that is part of the reason I was so against getting Brady out at a couple points, because I didn't want to write her name down unless I knew she was going, because if we were all unanimous about it, then it's okay. But if it was something that the round before me and someone else wrote her name down and then she doesn't go, now we're her enemies, we've lied to her in game, So almost every move that I made was based off jury at that point.
You do mention earlier in the episode, you're like, I think Brady might be a little bit of a bitter juror, so we have to be really careful with that. And then there was somebody else's name that you said, I don't remember who it was, that you were like, might be a little bit moody on the jury.
Well, I'm not moody, but that I had told Rachel that I wouldn't write her name down, but I did think if she was on the jury that she would vote for me. So I had to figure out how to get her on there without writing her name down.
That makes sense. So we get to tribal. There is the confrontation, not really confrontation, but like there's the discussion about the dead weight conversation.
It's aired out.
It gets kind of resolved where it's like, he either said it and is apologetic clearly and like doesn't realize he said it, or he didn't say it and there was a miscommunication somewhere with either Brady or myself. They hug it out. It's fine on a human level. We go to vote, and the vote comes up in a way that does not sit well with me.
Before we get the vote, where did John get 4 keys? Because he buys an extra vote. Did he have 4 keys? I thought he had lost.
Tyler gave John 2 keys.
Okay, gotcha. I figured someone transferred keys in, but I didn't know when that happened.
The next round, final 6, is the last round keys can be played. I'm pretty sure Tyler gave John 2 keys.
Okay.
I never knew where they were coming from. He's like a drug sniffing dog, but with keys. It's like every new round, he's like, "Oh, and I'm back to 4 again." Okay.
I mean, if I look at my game in Bloomington, I'd say one thing I did poorly at was manage idols and advantages / just keys. Just because I had my 1 key and that's it, and I went home with it.
Yeah.
I was kind of the same way. The one I found was given to me. It was an advantage given to me by Jamie, and then me and Rachel did like an advantage swap. So
it's better than nothing, but it's just like I because Rachel finds a key in a torch. I was shocked John didn't find another key while voting. I was like, my gosh. Which, okay, put your thinking hats on. You're helping KC run Surviving Bloomington next year. I don't know if it's keys, bullets, something else. We lost Drew, so it's all you, Makenzi. How would you hide advantages at tribal council? What would you do?
Well, wouldn't put them in any of the things on the voting booth, since that's where everyone looks. I don't know. I guess walking up. I think it'd be, well, see, if I say it, they can't do it. I think it'd be cool.
We can say whatever we want. We don't know what Casey's actually going to do.
If one was just hidden really well, almost directly on the camera that you're talking to, because I know I'm looking right at the lens. I'm not looking at the rest of the camera. It'd be cool if one was inside the pen you were using.
Okay, that would be really neat if the pen came apart.
Some escape room shit, yeah.
Are we talking about where we're hiding keys?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, at the voting booth. Or how would you do it?
Oh, at the voting booth specifically?
Yeah. Like, so
one thing that I've done when I've hosted is under the urn. And the other thing is like halfway, like between some of the parchment papers. But the thing is, a lot of times that sort of stuff comes down to who votes first, because you can't make it too obvious. One of my friends that I was watching with was like, does the voting always start with the same end? And I was like, I think it did pretty much for us. And he was like, oh, so the person who votes first has the advantage. Did you guys pick up on that? And I was like, other people might have. I don't play the advantage game typically. I just try to play super socially.
I was sitting at that side a lot with that in mind.
All right, so we have to read these 2 quotes for KC. First one, Next year's location is different, and you can see the voting booth from Tribal. So if people look, everyone will see. So that'll be interesting. I wonder, probably far enough away that you can't hear them per se say their say their voting words. And then I'm giving them a shot clock next year because it's annoying as hell with y'all looking when nothing was there.
That's true. The very first time I voted, I walked up and I think what I said was, "Y'all already know what I'm gonna do."
I mean, it's good. Casey, you've trained us, right? Because you go back to All-Star season. Very few people looked in things till the word got out. Oh, there's stuff hidden, right? And now we're all trained to go look through things.
You gotta start hiding them in challenges.
I mean, so what I was thinking was just more of like, maybe this is why I'll just like say, hey, once per season, a player's opportunity just don't vote, and you get a key. So it's like add a tribal council. I don't know how it'd be predetermined or be like only one person per tribal council, but if only one person doesn't vote, they would get a key. Multiple people don't vote. Sorry. I don't know. So you maybe something like that. But yeah, I'll be curious.
I'm a proponent of hiding things in challenges. So I would have liked to see some keys hidden during the challenges.
I got a really crazy clip of me zoomed in at Survivor Pennsylvania looking under a table during a challenge. 2 of my teammates seeing me, and I would think, oh, that's good. We got her on our team. Instead, they were like, she's playing this game too hard. She's a huge threat. We got to get... I never found anything. I just...
That's hilarious.
Well, shall we get to the vote reveal?
We get to the vote reveal. And it ends up being, so what's shown in the episode is a 4-3 vote with Makenzi going. You can tell on me and Brady's faces that we had absolutely no clue what was going on.
Good reactions there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, especially with it goes Makenzi, Matt. So we get one Makenzi, 3 Matts, then Makenzi, your name comes up a second time.
Whenever I see that second vote, I know it's me.
I knew it was you too, and that's when I look around. I don't know if you heard this in the real time. Brady turns to me after the second vote for you comes up, because we all realize the writing on the wall. Brady turns to me and goes, "Why did you flip?" And I say to Brady, "I didn't. Did you?" And Brady says, "No."
I heard
and then
that.
we
were lying.
We just like turn to you, and we're like dreading the last votes being read.
Yeah, the second vote for my name came up, and I see my face twitch. I knew it. I knew it.
Because my notes is you just take it. You are stoic as you get voted out.
Yeah, because I don't want to do any emotion that I'm going to regret. So if I just stare forward, I can reflect later.
So yeah, I'm curious. So like, no spoilers. Eventually, you will likely find out who voted for you and how they voted for you. How much does that shape you as a juror with how you're voted out?
Normally not really, unless someone says or does something really specific in the game, or normally just that alone will not affect me, especially if I think it was a good play.
Could not relate less. I'm a very bitter juror.
So wait, Drew, how bitter were you on the jury first for your game yesterday?
Oh, yeah. So yesterday I played a 1-day game, and I was the merge boot. I came in 11th out of 26 people. And as I was walking up to get my torch snuffed, I turned around to the group and said, "I just want you to all know that I will be a bitter juror, and I'm voting based on how you treated me in the game. That's my only criteria." And I stuck to that. And luckily, the guy that ended up winning was the guy that not only I was like allied with and didn't betray me, but also played the best game. So it was like a win-win in my opinion. But yeah, I love being a bitter juror. I think social game is underrated. And the only way I know how to judge social game is based on your interactions with me. So
that's fair. It's hard to judge people's games too, like their social games specifically, when you don't, like, I didn't get to see some players until merge. So I don't know what their game has been up until that point. And if they don't win challenges and I don't really see them be the head of any sort of move, what else can I go off of?
Right. Yeah.
Besides what you pitch, I guess.
The game I played yesterday, it was like my question to one of the guys, he was supposed to be my ally. My jury question to him was, "Did you vote for me the round I went out?" He said yes. I looked at him in the eye and said, "I'm not voting for you." I went to the next guy and I was like, we were never on a tribe together. I just need you to explain your strategy to me. The last guy, I was like, we worked together. You didn't vote for me at the merge. I just need you to explain your best move. That's just how I operate. I don't know. So we do get your closing confessional here where you're like, if Drew makes it to the final, I'm going to vote for him to win.
I also thought you voted for me.
Yeah, I know. Because then Casey asks you, like, is there anybody you want to follow? And you're like, yeah, just like the tiniest bit of spite. Like, it would be fun if Drew was out next. And
Which was funny to see in the episode.
I'm like, well, no.
I'm going to vote for you at the end, but also I spitefully hope you get out next.
Right. Now, at what point did you find out? When did you find out that I did not vote for you? Obviously, don't spoil anything as far as like boot order or anything. But
I found out when the person after me got out and told me. Yeah. Interesting.
Okay. Anything else?
And then I was a little bitter.
Anything else from this episode before we get into some of our logistical stuff?
Yeah, just that maybe insignificant to everyone else, but Rachel doing her whole speech and then writing my name down, but scratching out the E was so emotional to me.
That's so sweet.
I think I watched that moment 3 times, and every time I've like choked up.
All right, let's get into the fun stuff. We've got, what are our favorite quotes or favorite moments from the episode? Steven, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so I'll see the quote. You can tell me who says it. If you react emotional to someone, that can affect your social standing in the game. I have to think with both my head, my heart, and my gut. My head and my heart, but ultimately go with my gut further in the game.
Yeah, that's a Tyler quote. And I mean, Tyler kind of ran this episode start to bottom.
Well, I think what stood out for me is like he has this whole conversation. Like, I apologize, Tyler, but he's like, I don't want to play emotional. Playing emotionally is damaging. But he's like, I'm playing with both my head and my heart, but also my gut. And like, I tend to think playing their gut tends to be more emotional than playing with your head. I was just there's a lot going on in this quote that I kept wanting to unpack.
Makenzi, did you have a favorite quote or favorite moment from the episode?
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Where's the crown?
No way, I completely forgot about that. I don't know. I took a Xanax that morning, so I was like not really thinking about what I was saying at that point, like that early in the day.
It made me laugh, and I was like, no, he's right. As soon as that crown comes off, I'm trying to snatch it.
Yeah, and I think I explained myself well at Tribal. It's like, yeah, while I have immunity, like it feels fine, but then like the moment I don't, it's like that is stacked up on top. So for me, it was such a simple line, but I'm like, what? It was when me and Tyler were talking. Actually, I have 2. It was when me and Tyler were talking, and I was like, okay, do we want to like go for Matt or do we want to go for Brady? And Tyler was like, why would I go for Brady? And I was like, what do you mean? The other one is when Brady's in a confessional being like, I'm not tripping about Tyler anymore. He can do his own thing.
She's so funny.
Brady's so funny. Okay, let's get into player of the week. We're each going to pick 3 people and give them points. I guess I can start off with my, let's start with our 3rd best player of the week. I'll give 3rd best player of the week. I'm between 2 people. I'll be selfish. I'll give it to myself because I want immunity, and the person that was voted off, Makenzi, said that she would vote for me if I made it to the end. So although I voted in the minority, I got a jury vote potentially. Makenzi.
I've been going back and forth about this too. Can I start with first place?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, I'm giving the first one to Tyler because it is so difficult to try and orchestrate a blindside and keep the exact people who would foil that for you out of it, and him knowing that it would be you and Brady. keeping like also controlling everyone else to make sure that they don't let any of the information out. I mean, he still made such a good pitch to Rachel that even when she was very emotional, she was super vague in what she was trying to tell me. So 3 points to Tyler.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Tyler's getting 3 points from me as well.
That was my easy one. Now I got to think about it.
Should I do my 1 or 3, Drew?
Yeah, if you're voting Tyler for 3 or for anything, just we might as well talk about Tyler.
Tyler's my number 1 as well. I'm giving him 3 points. Echoing a lot of what Makenzi says, I think bonus points that the drama between him and Brady, it exists. It's an issue, but it's not monopolizing this round. It's not a Brady or Tyler situation. He's able to, again, bring the people he needs and execute it. And theoretically, this is final 7. That could be his final 4 if he wanted it to be, right?
Yeah.
Like which is one of the weird things of this episode. You don't get a sense of you don't get a sense of, is this the lines moving forward? It's like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Throwing onto that, the way Tyler approached this, where he just like locked down John and Rachel and was like, hey, this is what we're doing. He tells Daddy Matt, like, everything else is smoke and mirrors. This is what we're doing. Do not change the plan. I'm not changing my plan. This is what we're doing. Anything else anybody says to you is false. And like the slim number of people that can pull that off, it's crazy. Like Tyler just has that ability to pull off something like that.
This could be a selling point to someone's game. It's saying, hey, this is like, and again, we're seeing an edited version of that for a TV product, right? So it's we don't know what everyone else is thinking or feeling about what they did in blindsiding Makenzi, but at least from our viewpoint, it feels like this should be Tyler's claim.
Right. Let's talk about maybe our second place, and then we'll just skip over me when we get to third place, since I already talked about myself. Steven, who was your second place this week?
2 points to Rachel. Knowing who to vote out and win is always hard, and I feel like Rachel did a very good job assessing, Makenzi's a great ally. Makenzi wants to see me farther in the game, but can I beat Makenzi at the end? Maybe I'm being told we have similar game styles. That was a really rough decision, and we'll have to see if it pays out. But I think likely Mac might just be a perennial target at this point, and Makenzi, you were probably not going to be a target very often.
Yeah, my 2 points goes to Rachel too. Same reason. I always find it difficult to play with my head over my emotions or things I've already said or feeling bad about something. And I think that move was done at a really good time. So yeah, 2 points to Rachel.
My 2 points are also to Rachel, just because it's really hard. Beyond what you guys have talked about strategically advancing herself, it's really hard to cut a personal tie with someone to advance your game, especially when it's in such a condensed format and you don't have time to work up to that. Rachel had to make that decision on the fly to cut a personal relationship to try and advance her game. And we'll see if that works out for her ultimately. But I think that either way, it's a hard decision. And it's really nice to see Rachel in a position right after being talked about as dead weight, being the swing vote and making that decision.
She had what Matt wanted.
Yeah, she had what Matt wanted. I agree, 100%. I already talked about my 1 point going to myself. My other option for that 1 point for me was Daddy Matt for managing to survive that round. But I would love to hear from the two of you.
Okay. I mean, I'm giving my 1 point to Matt. He's a target, and he gets to this round without having to play any advantage. And I think it was, for better or worse, it sucks that you and him weren't on the same page, Makenzi, but he was able to pivot it to being you as the target instead. And so I think it feels like watching it that this was a lot of Tyler's work more than Matt's work. And granted, but who's to say? But again, he survived, and he got his target out.
Mine was between Matt and John, but I think I'm going to give it to John, because if he doesn't play that extra vote there and Rachel does, I mean, it looked like Rachel was making her decision at the podium. So if she does decide to go the other way and he doesn't play that vote, then he loses Matt.
Well, so correct me if I'm wrong. If it ties 4-4, does that extra vote persist to the revote?
Oh, that's right. It would have tied. It was
No,
Yeah.
I don't think the extra votes persist. I mean, Casey, if you're in the chat, you can clarify, but my understanding is that the extra vote did not persist through the revote. And I don't remember if someone could play an extra vote just on the revote. But I'm pretty confident that it does not persist.
Yeah.
Extra votes-
Oh, they do persist. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm dumb.
Yeah.
Just
So, like,
ignore me. I
so
don't.
extra votes persist, right? We tie, so Makenzi and Matt can't vote. Do we? And then so we have a potential 3-3 gridlock. Do we see someone flip? I don't know where that goes if that's the case. That would have been.
I was not willing to flip on Makenzi, and Brady, based on knowing Brady, was not willing to flip on anyone who she considered an ally. I think it would come down to Rachel or John flipping.
Brady,
We're not allowed to talk before revote.
Correct.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, very curious if Brady or Rachel, if anyone, would you go the rocks for Makenzi? If it gets to that point.
I mean, I would have, obviously, because I have immunity, and I think Brady's probably the most loyal player left in the game. I think Brady would have been as well. So I think it would have just come down to John and Rachel. John would have had to flip and save Makenzi, or Rachel would have had to flip and eliminate Makenzi.
Yeah, and I think that, and so sure, I think I was kind of down on John playing the extra vote. There was like, oh, I didn't need it as 5-3, but I think that was great insurance.
I mean, yeah, if he doesn't play it and then she does make that split decision the other way, then it's why didn't you play? Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess you always think of extra votes are best when there's even numbers, so you can break the tie. But in this way, John was able to minimize the power of the swing vote.
Yeah, I wonder if it was Rachel or Matt that he didn't fully trust there. I would guess Rachel, though.
Rachel, I think because of the conversation that we saw with them where Rachel was like, are you sure you need me to have the numbers? And Tyler and John are like, yes, we're sure. We need you to have the numbers.
Oh, but then also walking to tribal, the conversation that I had with Matt that didn't have anything to do with the game, but it was just emotional about Rachel. I started talking to Matt. John turned around, looked like very, very nervous, and kind of looked at me and looked at him like, what's going on? Are you guys changing the plan? And I had told him, I was like, no, this is just like a personal thing. So maybe he thought that I had whispered something to Matt and tried to change him, but that is something that happened that was not shown.
Yeah. Well, I do have a score update for those of us who want them for the Player of the Week.
The only reason why we're here, Drew.
Makenzi is in first.
Hell yeah.
With 23. Second place is Daddy Matt with 20, and third place is myself with 19. Heavily helped by myself giving myself 1 point consistently.
Not biased whatsoever.
I try. Then behind me we have John in fourth with 18, so just right there, Matt, me, John are each 1 point apart. Then we have Brady at 15 and Rachel and Tyler at 14.
It's actually a much more narrow distribution. I thought it was going to be a lot more lopsided.
Yeah, everybody is within a 9-point range, and of course Makenzi, the person who was in first, is eliminated now, so everybody's actually within 6 points. So
good luck.
And then we have just other fun stats, I guess. Me and Tyler are the only two people left in the game to not receive any votes.
Are you keeping track of the number of episode titles?
I'm not keeping track of number of episode titles, but in the point system that I have going on within my draft with my friends, the people get points for episode titles. So I'm pretty confident that John and Tyler are leading with episode titles.
Okay, for the finale, we need to know who was the most prolific episode namer.
I will do that research for the good of the community.
Exactly.
I'm just doing my confessionals with that in mind.
This is for when I actually go and I help update the wiki. We can have a little fun facts section.
Oh, that is a good idea.
I want to be in every Hall of Fame.
Well, you have the crown. You have to pass it on to someone else now, Makenzi.
And now we have our final 3 set for All Stars between the 3 of us. Perfect.
This will come back to bite
Me,
us.
Drew, and Steven.
Yeah, no one would ever look at a podcast to make up their strategy.
Yeah, but it's not like Melanie went and watched every single podcast I did the prep for the season.
All right. Well, with that, is there anything else anybody needs to say or has to say about this episode? Anything in general?
Oh yeah, I mean, shout out Casey again.
For sure.
Yeah, just very emotional episode, and the music. Watching it back again today, it's just always the music is what sticks out in my mind.
Mhm.
Like, would I be having this emotional reaction if the music wasn't? I'm like, if it was just Rachel talking to the camera, I think I would be like, all right, yeah. But otherwise, I'm just bawling.
Yeah, great job, Casey. We're excited to
Beautifully
see. We have 2 episodes left, so very excited to see what comes up.
Makenzi, is there a spoiler-free teaser you can give us for the next episode?
Yes, what can we expect without anything being spoiled, which is very difficult to do.
Oh, don't ask me. I was not paying attention when I got voted out. I was having phone calls. I was catching up with people. I was having my own catch-up beef with people who got voted out. So one of you guys do it.
I will say, from my perspective, what can be expected is Brady and I were blindsided, and we were not happy about it.
I enjoyed playing this challenge. I'll say that much for this
The
next
next
episode.
challenge, I have thoughts on the challenge that we'll talk about next time. With that being said, don't forget, anyone watching live, watching later, whatever, to subscribe to Live Reality Games on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Also, don't forget to follow Surviving Bloomington on all the same places. And the cast has been released for the next season. We have someone from this current season, from season 6, playing in next season. And to find out who that is, you'll have to look at the website. So go to the Surviving Bloomington website. And with that, we will be back after the next episode to discuss all the drama and trauma that comes up from that.
Hey, Makenzi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take care, y'all.